Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this special meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mrs. Riska. Can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor,
Here.
Mrs. Sarowski,
Here.
Mrs. Koski,
Present.
Mr. Radke,
Present.
Mrs. Schmidt,
Present.
Mr. Yanes,
Here.
and Mrs. Zerko.
Present.
All right. Council, we need approval of the agenda tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the agenda.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is our budget workshop. It's the first of two budget workshops and then the budget adoption at the first council meeting in May. We have a number of presentations from our city employees and our city administration. So without any further ado, I will hand it over to our city manager, Mark Vanderpool, who will take it on from here. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you very much, Mayor. After many months of preparation, we're very pleased to present the fiscal year 2019-2020 proposed budget. And as you mentioned, we'll start with a number of presentations, and like past years, we'll have plenty of time for the audience members and city council to follow up with comments. And we would prefer that questions be held until we complete all the presentations. And then at the conclusion of the presentations, the appropriations ordinance needs to be introduced. This will enable City Council to make amendments as we proceed through the budget hearings. I'd like to add that once again, the city's proposed budget is available online, so anyone in the viewing audience or anyone who wishes to access the budget can do so online, and we also have hard copies available at City Hall. You will note that the proposed budget continues the principles outlined in the city's Visioning 2030 plan with the completion of the Recreating Recreation Initiative, another year of significant road improvements, building improvements, infrastructure improvements, and reinvestment in our human assets, not to mention numerous technology upgrades. So we'd like to kick off the meeting tonight with the following video highlighting major initiatives in the budget.
The city adopts a budget each year that reflects the City Council's goals and the ongoing commitment to provide efficient and essential services to our residents and businesses. By continuing to invest in the community, while at the same time practicing good financial stewardship, the city will continue to provide an exceptional quality of life, outstanding services, and will remain a destination for both residents and businesses. The budget totals $246.8 million, an increase of $2.5 million, or 1%. The total budget incorporates not only the cost to operate city services, police, fire, and public works, for example, but also includes investments in roads and facilities. The general fund budget totals $105.3 million, a decrease of 0.1%. Funds are budgeted for contractual wage adjustments and new training initiatives for city employees, an increase in long-term retirement liabilities, and debt service on new facilities. Over 60% of the general fund budget is dependent upon property taxes. Of the total, businesses pay approximately 30% of the tax bill, while city residents pay the remaining 70%. The city's diversified tax base and economic development efforts also help to lower taxes for residential property owners. Residential properties in the city experienced a 6.7% increase in market value this past year, but only a 2.4% increase in taxable value. Homeowners will see a reduction in the city tax rate as the promised rollback will decrease the city operating millage by 1 mil. A family living in a typical home will pay $102 per month in city property tax. Nearly 60% of a homeowner's city tax bill funds public safety and public works. Residents pay less than $10 a month for the public library, parks and recreation, and senior citizen services. Sterling Heights homeowners continue to receive an excellent value for their tax dollar. The city will continue to offer low residential water and sewer rates. This year's rate increase of 3.3%, or $3 per month, will be the lowest increase in 11 years. The average household will pay only $80 per month for all water and sewer services. The budget funds significant investment in roads and infrastructure. Nearly $17 million will be invested in road construction next year. Improvements will be seen on 18-mile Hayes Road, Metro Parkway, Utica Road, 19-mile, and Merrill Road, and preliminary engineering will begin on the complete reconstruction of Mound Road. Thanks to revenue generated from the Safe Streets millage, over $7 million will be invested in neighborhood roads, including both sectional repairs and the full reconstruction of over 30 local streets. Other significant projects funded in the proposed budget include the construction of a brand new building for the Department of Public Works, upgrades to City Hall entrances and to the exterior of the library and the police department, the construction of the community center and enhancements to Delia Park funded through the Recreating Recreation millage, the second phase of a $20 million investment to upgrade infrastructure and technology throughout all 5 buildings on the City Center main campus, and replacement vehicles, equipment, and technology upgrades to ensure an effective and safe working environment for city employees. In conclusion, the budget demonstrates that the city continues to provide efficient city services at a low cost. This year's budget continues investment in road repair and facilities infrastructure and reflects the city's long-standing tradition of excellence by investing in neighborhoods and public safety, effective property maintenance initiatives, diversified economic development efforts, and a variety of community-oriented services. The budget reflects what this community strives to be: a safe, vibrant, and welcoming place to live and work.
And Mayor, at this time, I'm pleased to introduce our Finance and Budget Director, Jennifer Varney, who will provide some additional details on the proposed budget, and then we'll continue on with our presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Shubsky, members of council. I'm excited to be here tonight to present an overview of the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget. As mentioned in the video, the total budget for all funds is $246.8 million, and you can see how it breaks down into the 5 major fund types as shown here. In total, the budget increased 1%, or about $2.5 million over last year, and this slide breaks down the major changes. We've budgeted $21 million to fund the construction of the new Public Works building. $1.9 million is an increased debt service, primarily due to the bond issuance to finance that building. We have a $2.7 million increased investments in local road funding that will allow for the reconstruction of sectional repair of over 35 neighborhood streets this year. We had a decrease of $5.8 million in the road bond construction spending. Last year, we had construction related to an $8.2 million bond. This year, there's no road bond being issued, and the only thing budgeted out of that fund is the preliminary engineering on the Innovate Mound project of about $2.5 million. We're spending about $10.4 million less in Recreating Recreation. We're into the 3rd year of that program. We're finishing up the community center, Delia Park, and some other things, but our spending will be down. And also $1.2 million less will be spent on projects in the Local Development Finance Authority. The total general fund budget is down about $100,000, and I'll get into that detail later. Actually, right now. So now let's look at the city's largest fund, the general fund. So again, it's a little over 105 million and about 43% of the total city budget. And can be divided into the city's 8 departmental budgets. And as you can see from the graph, nearly 64% of the general fund budget funds the police, fire, and public works, which is represented by the red, blue, and purple sections. The remaining departments total just under 25%, and transfers to other funds make up their other 11.5%. And we'll talk about each of these departments in further detail. Overall, there was a slight decrease from last year of about 118,000, and this slide shows the main variances. There's offsetting variances. The first thing is $6 million less in the general fund transfer to major roads. So as you'll recall, last year we had a 1 mil tax increase to fund extra road improvements, so this year we don't have that. So we're only transferring $1 million out of general fund to major roads. And also there was a decrease in the transfer to the capital project funds of $840,000. And then these are offset by some increases. We had increases in wages and pension contributions totaling about 2.8 million. We have the debt service on the planned DPW building of 1.7. And then some increases in employee training, software maintenance costs, and contractual services for park maintenance. And this brings us to this year's total budget of $105.3 million. So as we talked about in the video and as we heard about at strategic planning, the proposed budget includes a significant investment in our most important asset, city employees. Multiple new training initiatives are funded for all city employees, including the continuation of Sterling University, executive leadership training, and a one-day sabbatical for all employees to attend the training or seminar of their choice. In addition, a learning management system is funded, which will give employees access to unlimited online training covering a wide variety of subjects, and specialized Lean Six Sigma training is also planned. We will once again fully fund our required contribution to all 3 of our retirement plans at an approximate $830,000 increase over last year. The funding levels decreased slightly this year to 77.3% for the general plan and 62.9% for police and fire. The decrease in general plan was primarily due to a lower rate of return than assumed. And in the police and fire plan, we had a change. We updated the mortality tables, and that actually added about $14 million to the unfunded liabilities. But on the retiree medical side, we're continuing to increase that funding up to 55.1% from 50.9% last year. So that's a really good increase in 1 year. And we continue to make this a budget priority, continuing to budget more than is actually required by the actuaries. And now we're going to look at general fund revenues. Revenues total just over $106 million. And as you can see, most of the revenues come from property taxes. And the second largest component is from state sources, which includes revenue sharing and the personal property tax reimbursement. General fund revenues decreased slightly, just about $50,000 less than last year, and again, made up of some offsetting variances. Taxes from the operating millage are down about 2.4 million, and again, that's due to the 1 mil decrease in property taxes, but is offset somewhat by an increase in taxable values. So overall, taxable values are up 5.5%, but a current property owner will only see a 2.4% inflationary adjustment, and then the rest of the increase is due to new development and home sales. Property tax revenue from the police and fire actually increased by $780,000, and again, that millage is directly related to the contribution to the police and fire plan. So since that increased, we collect more tax revenue to fund that contribution. And then the Safe Streets millage also saw it increase just to the inflationary adjustment of 2.4%. Due to the Headley rollback on the millage rate, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. We also saw reductions in grant revenue and cable TV revenue. So cable TV revenue is starting to trend downward And I'm sure you can all imagine why, just people are moving away from traditional cable, and we're starting to see it in our PEG revenue from our cable providers. Other revenues that are increasing include state revenue sharing, EMS transport fees, investment income, and police and fire reimbursements. So that gets us to our total revenue of $106.3 million. So I wanted to take a moment here to talk about the consequences of our third Headley millage rollback. So this is the third year in a row we've had a rollback due to the Headley amendment. And as you may recall, a Headley rollback permanently reduces the maximum millage rate a city can levy to an amount that's below what the voters approved. So for example, although voters approved 2.5 mils for safe streets and 0.97 mil for recreating recreation, the current maximum millage rates are 2.4465 and 0.9491. So essentially, a Headley rollback caps the tax revenue growth rate to inflation, and it limits the city's ability to capture additional revenue from new developments and from people selling their homes. And furthermore, the rollback is permanent, so it never can go back the other way. So our operating millage hasn't seen a big effect of that because we currently are below our Headley maximum. But I wanted to show here that that gap is eroding every year. So in 2017, we had a gap, or that part between what we charge and what we could charge, of 1.28 mils. In 2018, it went down to 1.2, and this year it's a little over 1.1. So we're losing about 0.1 mil a year in that gap. So it's just something to keep an eye on, and if it continues at this rate in the next decade, we're gonna be, right at our Headley rate, and then we will lose our ability to capture that extra taxable value from new investment in the community. So our tax rate, though, continues to compare well with other communities. And as you can see from this chart, we continue to be one of the lowest in Macomb County and 5.9 mils below the average of all cities in Macomb. Now, this side compares last year's rate when we had the higher 1 mil operating. So as you can see, we still ranked lower than most cities, and this year's proposed rate of 16.2 mils will improve our ranking even further. And we also compare favorably to similar sized cities in Michigan and are the lowest in tax revenue per resident of our comparable cities. So the proposed budget continues to increase our general fund balance. So as you can see here, we have general fund revenues of $106.3 million and expenses of $105.3, meaning we'll be able to contribute $1 million to our general fund reserves. This is the 6th year in a row we've contributed general fund balance, and by the end of the budget year, we're projected to hold 25.6% of general expenditures and reserves, and so we've come right up to our goal of holding at least 25%. Next, we're going to look at the special revenue funds. That's 7 different funds that total $42.8 million. So here's a breakdown of the different funds. The largest is Parks and Recreation, and that's funded through the proceeds from the recreating recreation millage and contributions from the general fund. And this year totals $17.8 million, which is about $9.7 million less than last year. And we'll talk about that in detail at the next budget hearing. So 52% or $22.3 million of special revenue funds are for maintenance and repairs to the city's major roads and local neighborhood streets. So the major and local road funds both receive funding through gas and weight tax revenue, which we often call Act 51 revenue, from the state. And as you can see from the slide, after years of stagnation at levels below what we had seen in 2004, Act 51 revenue has been increasing since 2014, particularly since 2017, when the increases to the gas tax and registration fees went into effect. However, although we have been increasing revenue recently, we are still cumulatively $3 million below what we would have been if we had just received 2004 levels all these years, and $16.5 million below if we had just received inflationary increases off the 2004 levels for the past 14 years. So this year, we continue our commitment to major road reconstruction, budgeting an additional $10 million in major roads. And combined with funding from last year's budget and the local road budget, road improvements for the 2019 calendar year will total $23.2 million, as was detailed in the flyer sent to all residents and their water bills. And you'll hear a lot more about that later this evening from the city engineer. So this year, we're also going to see a significant investment in our neighborhood streets. The local road fund budget totals $9.2 million, and that includes both construction and maintenance of local roads. And again, the local road fund receives funding from the state through Act 51 revenue, but also receives additional funding from the Safe Streets millage. So as you can see here, the Safe Streets millage has contributed over $3 million annually for a total of nearly $20 million over the 6-year period. And this has significantly increased local road funding and the number of repairs we've been able to complete each year. So the remaining special revenue funds include some smaller ones, the Community Development Block Grant, which is funded with federal dollars. This year, the CDBG is able to fund the first phase of the replacement of the senior center roofing system and concrete replacement of Hamilton Drive. The Public Safety Forfeitures funds equipment and supplies for the police department through the use of proceeds from seized property. And the Local Development Finance Authority uses tax capture revenue to fund the Velocity Business Incubator and other smart zone activities. The Indigent Defense Fund is new this year, and there were new rules this year implemented by the state of Michigan regarding counsel for indigent defendants, and this fund was required to be created to track the revenues and expenses related to that. It is grant proceeds from the state, though. And lastly, the Corridor Improvement Authority also uses tax capture revenue and funds landscape and streetscape enhancements along the Van Dyke corridor north of 18.5 miles. Next up, the capital project funds, which is a total of $37.4 million. There are 3 separate capital project funds, and these funds include road construction financed through bonds, as well as the repair of city facilities and for replacement equipment and vehicles. The main capital project fund totals $26.3 million this year, and this slide highlights some of the major projects. So the big one is the Public Works building at $21 million. Upgrades to the north and south entrances at City Hall. Phase 1 of exterior upgrades to the police department and the public library. Exterior repairs to the Upton House. And the purchase of an integrated financial system, which you'll hear from our controller about later this evening. And the creation of an innovation fund that will allow departments to fund technological innovations through an application process. Next, the Facilities Improvement Fund accounts for the $20 million of facility improvement projects throughout City Hall, the police department, the public library, and the court, and technology upgrades across all city buildings. So this year we have $8.6 million of the $20 million budgeted. And projects in progress or completed include the replacement of the heating and cooling system at the court, replacement of the roofing systems, and elevator renovations at all 5 buildings. Now, the construction manager contract was recently approved by City Council, and renovations to the court should begin in the spring, with the other facilities following towards the end of the calendar year. The facilities bond also funds technology improvements throughout the city. Some that are included in next year's budget include presentation equipment for city conference rooms, upgraded security cameras, and upgrades to the wireless network. Next is the Road Bond Construction Fund. Now again, this fund accounts for projects paid with bond proceeds. So the only thing budgeted in this fund this year is the preliminary engineering work for the Innovate Mound project. And as you may recall, the city worked diligently with the County of Macomb and the City of Warren to obtain a federal grant for the total reconstruction of Mound Road from I-696 to M59. And this project will total $217 million and will be funded through a $98 million federal grant, as well as contributions from the county, Sterling Heights, Warren, and other sources. And again, $2.5 million is budgeted in this current year to fund the preliminary engineering. And although the project is still in the planning stages, construction is estimated to begin in July of 2020. So the last capital projects fund I would like to discuss is the Clinton River Restoration Fund. As you may have seen on the news, this fund was not allocated any funding in the proposed budget. And this is because the Clinton River Restoration Fund was specifically created to track grant proceeds and expenditures for the $4.5 million EPA grant the city received to clean up the Clinton River. The project is expected to be completed this spring, and all the grant proceeds will have been spent, which is why there was nothing budgeted this year. Now, this does not mean that the city will not continue to maintain the river, and in fact has entered into a private-public partnership with Clinton River Canoe and Kayak, who is responsible for the daily maintenance and inspections of the river. And the Clinton River Watershed Council also hosts regular cleanups throughout the watershed. City personnel will inspect the river regularly, and if additional projects are necessary, they can always be requested through the capital budgeting process. So I just put in these pictures just to show an example of the amazing cleanup that was done on the Clinton River, which could not have been accomplished without grant funding. And the Clinton River is now in great shape and a focal point of the city's overall recreation plan, and the city is committed to making sure it remains so. Now, on to debt service funds, which comprise 3% of the total city budget. There are 3 debt funds that total $7.3 million, a $1.9 million increase over last year. And again, the increase is primarily due to the planned debt service on the new Public Works building. We also pay debt on the facilities improvement bonds that were issued last year and for City Hall improvements from 2000. Now, this is the last year of payment on those bonds, so we'll get some bonds paid off. And we also pay debt on the fire station improvements, and those will be paid off in 2023. And then we have road bond debt that makes up the remaining 44%. And our debt levels have increased the past few years, but you can see that we are still well below our legal limit. So again, just to go through this quickly, our equalized value is $5.9 billion, and our legal limit is 10% of that, which is $591 million. And our applicable debt outstanding, including the proposed DPW bond, is $129 million, which means we're at 22% of our legal debt limit. And this limit is calculated every year and verified by our auditors. So the final of the 5 major fund types is water and sewer, and we will discuss that at the next budget hearing. So we have 3 departments you're going to see presentations from tonight. So first up is city administration, which makes up about 10% of the total general fund budget. City administration is made up of 2 divisions with 49 full-time and 10 part-time staff. And the budget totals $9.4 million, and the split between the individual offices is shown here. The budget increased by $1.1 million or 12.8%. Personnel costs increased by about $400,000 due to the additions of a full-time position assessing. Now that's part of a multi-year succession plan due to upcoming retirements, and also an advanced hiring of a new GIS coordinator due to a planned retirement. And then there were wage increases and an increase in pension funding. Other charges increased $700,000. We're seeing an increase in software maintenance agreements, as this is the kind of the newer way that we're paying for our software. Instead of large investments purchasing software, it's switching to annual maintenance. So we're seeing maintenance go up while capital should be coming down over the next few years. And we saw some of that this year with a decrease in the capital transfer. And also a temporary administrative assistance in the purchasing office. And we're anticipating higher custodial contract costs and increased costs in the maintenance of our municipal grounds. Now in the capital budget for these departments, we're going to see some high-speed election tabulators and replacement laptops for election workers, BC replacements for the fire, police, and other departments as part of our 5-year replacement cycle, and a replacement transit van and utility vehicle for facilities maintenance. Next is city development, which comprises 5% of the general fund budget. And the department is made up of 5 divisions totaling 42 employees. And the total budget is 5.1 million and is comprised of 5 different divisions as shown here. Now this budget overall increased 288,000 or 6%, and it's primarily due to 168,000 in personnel costs. We have an additional part-time code enforcement officer this year, and of course wage increases and increased pension funding. And also a 118,000 increase in other charges, primarily due to contractual costs for the development of a targeted marketing campaign. And the capital budget funds replacement vehicles for building and code enforcement officers. All building and code officers will now have access to 4-wheel drive vehicles. And last for tonight is community relations, which is the tiny piece of pie there, and comprises 1.4% of the general fund budget, and includes 7 full-time and 2 part-time employees, and has a total budget of 1.5 million, which is primarily personnel costs. Only a slight increase over last year, 38,000, due to wage increases, as well as additional costs for Sterling Fest and media monitoring software. And the capital budget includes new editing and storage system for SHTV, and new event and news gathering equipment, a replacement vehicle that will be large enough for hauling their video equipment, and the continuation of the Public Art Fund. And that concludes my overview, Mr. Mayor, and I turn it back over to Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you. And Mayor, continuing on, our next presentation involves a subject matter that conjures up a lot of strong emotions with motorists across the state, and that involves roads. Fortunately, Sterling Heights has made significant investment in improving roads since 2012, as you heard from the video and from Mrs. Varney, thanks in large part to the passage of the Safe Streets Initiative in 2013, which will be up for renewal this November in 2019. In fact, between 2014 and 2022, over 400 million in various road improvements will have been completed in Sterling Heights. Let me just repeat that number because it's, I think, an impressive number. Over $400 million will have been devoted to roadway improvements in Sterling Heights over that period of time. This construction season alone, as you heard, over 23 million will be completed. So our city engineer, Brent Bayshaw, will now provide an update of our road improvement plan and projects planned for the next 5 years.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vanderpool, Mayor Taylor, members of council, Mr. Koszybski, and good evening. 2018 was a big year for road construction in the city of Sterling Heights. Over $32 million was expended on major roads alone on 15 separate projects. And 2019 will be another busy year, which will address pavement conditions and many streets in dire need of surface improvement. So let's start with our neighborhood road plans for 2019. 2019 will mark the 6th and final year of expenditure for funds raised through the Safe Streets Initiative. Therefore, I'll begin with highlighting the upcoming 2019 improvements to the neighborhood road network, but I'll also take a look back at the impact of these 6 years of improvements that have taken place, and also we'll take a look at the future and what's on the horizon for the next 6 years. Through various funding sources, much of which is derived from the Safe Streets millage, over $7 million will be allocated to neighborhood road repairs in 2019. There'll be 18 full road replacements, 15 roads will see significant repairs through our sectional repair program, and 4 roads will be resurfaced within the asphalt program, and over 7 miles total of local roads will be improved. The red line shown on the attached map highlights the roads which will be improved in 2019. The blue lines highlight all streets improved within the 6-year Safe Streets timeframe. And so to highlight a few 2019 projects, let's start at the northwest quadrant of the city. In the neighborhood north of 19 Mile Road and west of Ryan Road, Gina Drive will be fully reconstructed with concrete. And just to the west The Pondview Drive entrance to 19 Mile Road will also be reconstructed with a full-width sectional concrete improvement. That will also include the replacement of the acceleration and deceleration lanes off 19 Mile Road. In the adjacent neighborhood to the south of 19 Mile Road, Lachlan Drive will receive a sectional replacement that will complete the full improvement of this road. Highlighting the northeast quadrant of the city, 3 roads will receive full-width improvement on the streets shown in red. Sterrett Drive will be resurfaced with asphalt from Canal Road to M59, as will Fortner Drive from 19 Mile Road to the recently improved Wheaton Drive. Additionally, the Erdman Drive entrance to Clinton River Road will be improved through the concrete sectional replacement program. So moving south, I'd like to highlight a few improvements to the southwest quadrant of the city. Fox Hill Drive will be fully resurfaced with asphalt from DeQuinder Road to Ryan Road. This will be a valued engineered project to treat the poor surface conditions. There will be 6 projects south of Metro Parkway and west of Mound, one being Kennedy Drive and Johnson Drive reconstruction. And highlighting a few projects in the southeast section of the city, El Dorado Drive will receive a concrete reconstruction from Dodge Park Road to Mustang Drive, and Mustang Drive will be reconstructed as well. In the neighborhood east of Sterling Heights High School, Ascot Drive will be reconstructed with concrete. And that provides us just a quick glance at some of the projects in store on the local road network in 2000. So when incorporating this work into the overall improvement seen in the 6-year Safe Streets timeframe, 252 streets will have seen improvement, addressing 32 miles of neighborhood roadway pavement. We'll now take a quick glance at the effect these improvements have had on the system as a whole. So where would we be without the past 6 years of Safe Streets improvements? In 2007, the city began annually rating all 290 miles of local roads using the PASER system. The PASER system is a uniform statewide system used for rating roads 1 to 10 based on condition. These ratings give us an asset inventory of the local road network and enables the pavement management of the system. The pie chart shown indicates the existing conditions in 2012 and the foreseen conditions in 2018 if no additional funding was supplemented into the local road network. In 2012, the number of roads rated in poor condition totaled 11% and outweighed the number of roads in good condition, which totaled 7%. So if no supplemental local road funding was applied to the system, by 2018, the number of roads in poor condition was projected to total 31%, while the number of roads in good condition reduced to 5%. The projection of these conditions, which takes into account the age and natural deterioration of local roads, was the reason local roads were included in the Safe Streets initiative presented to voters. The graph shown chart the trend of the pavement condition since 2013. The graphs on the left side of the screen charts the amount of roads rated in good condition at the start of Safe Streets. The amount of good roads totaled 7% in 2013. Safe Streets expenditure over the last 5 years and incorporating the upcoming 2019 projects results in an increase in the pavement rated in good condition to 16%. Additionally, over the last 5 years and projecting into 2019, the number of roads rated in poor condition has been reduced from 11% in 2013 to 9% in 2019. In 2019, Sterling Heights residents will once again vote on the renewal of the Safe Streets millage. So what can a voter expect if Safe Streets once again passes? A total of 110 full road replacements totaling roughly 22 miles can be expected. Sectional repairs at another 150 locations totaling 10 miles can be expected, resulting in capital improvements at approximately 260 locations and 32 miles. So what type of improvements could be made with a Safe Streets renewal? For a few examples, I'd like to refer to our current road rating map. The map shows roads rated 1 to 2 in red. These are the roads weighted in worst condition. 3 to 4 are blue, 5 to 6 are green, 7 to 8 are yellow, 9 to 10 are gray. These are the best rated roads and contain all the work done over the last 5 years. And as a side note, this map's available on the city's website if anyone wants to take a look at it in detail. So looking at the neighborhood north of Metro Parkway, west of Dodge Park, Francis Drive is a road that could be improved to continue the work done on neighboring streets such as Annalisa Drive and Mario Drive. In the neighborhood south of Metro Parkway and west of Dodge Park Road, improvements could be continued on streets such as Village Drive to continue improvements completed on the neighboring Wayne Drive and Thomas Drive. In the neighborhood north at 19 Mile Road and east of DeQuinder, improvements to streets. Well, let me look at this. Sorry, this is the area north of 15 Mile Road. Improvements to Cavant Street could be done to match the improvements recently done on Vito Street. Now moving north to 19 Mile Road area, improvements on Lake Forest Drive can be, what street is this? Or whatever street, I can't remember what street that is, but it could be done with.
There's so many.
I usually can know them all. They can be completed to make the improvements like we've done recently on Hop Tree Drive. So, without the Safe Streets renewal, what can be expected? The improvements would go back to similar output as seen in pre-2013. The focus would go to more smaller sectional repairs to address the worst of the worst pavement. Full road replacements would be minimal, probably looking at about 10 over that period, and sectional replacements would be minimal as well, 50. So we'd probably be looking around 60 locations, totaling 5.3 miles or a little bit less than 1 mile per year. In summary, a renewal of the Safe Streets Initiative would generate approximately $20.5 million of funds to be expended on capital improvements to neighborhood roads. This amount would fund approximately 80% of our local road expenditure. It would enable another 32 miles of local road improvement and continue the trend established in 2013 of improving the condition of the city's local road network. So let's now move on to the major road network. As stated earlier, 2018 was a big year for major road constructions with 15 projects totaling $32 million in improvements. Before we move on to what's in store for 2019 and the complete 5-year road plan, let's look back at some highlights from 2018. 15 major road projects were completed in 2018 with a total investment of $32 million. The work began in March of 2018 and spanned many miles of roadway. In the spring of 2019, the cleanup of M59 from the previous year's construction began and median enhancements commenced. The aesthetics of the area was greatly improved, and one such improvement included the replacement of the fenced stormwater retention area with this new landscaped open style water feature that also functioned as a stormwater quality improvement. In the spring of 2018, Canal Road reconstruction began as well. The project included surface improvements, geometric improvements, sidewalk improvements as all the gaps were filled in, including this new walk under the N53 overpass, an improved off-street parking lot for the recently improved Hadley Park. The Canal Road project parlayed into Van Dyke improvements from 18.5 Mile Road to M59. Shana Road was resurfaced at the beginning of the year, and just after completion in mid-July, 15 Mile Road was resurfaced west of Shana. This project included improvements to Fire Station 4, Baumgartner Park entrances, and also was complete just in time for the start of the school year. Dodge Park Road was resurfaced in the fall of 2018, a project which won an award from the Asphalt Paving Association of Michigan. And moving north, 17 Mile Road was improved from Utica Road to Van Dyke, which also included improvements to the heavily traveled school crossing at Davis Junior High. The last project I'd like to highlight is the Mound Road resurfacing project from 18 Mile Road south to 15 Mile Road. This picture was taken during construction and shows the difference between the new asphalt surface and the old concrete pavement. It was imperative that this asphalt overlay was complete prior to the winter, and the project was completed in November of 2018. So what's in store for 2019 on the major road network? 19 Mile Road will be resurfaced from Hayes to Shaner Road. A much-needed project to resurface 14 Mile Road between DeQuinder Road and Ryan Road will begin this summer with a fall completion. Metro Parkway asphalt construction will begin this spring from Van Dyke east of Home Depot entrance on both bounds of the road. Mill Road paving will occur with dressing 1.5 miles of roadway with the resurfacing project on the area north of 19 Mile Road and a reconstruction of Mill Road south of 19 Mile Road. 18 Mile Road will be resurfaced between Ryan Road and Mound Road. And Utica Road will be resurfaced from Dodge Park Road to Van Dyke Avenue this summer. Last but not least, Shaner Road improvements will continue with the project beginning at the northerly limits of the 2018 project and moving past north of 18 Mile Road. Total investment to the major road system in 2019 will total over $15 million. I'd like to move quickly through the remaining years in the five-year plan, specifically years 2020 through 2023. In 2020, 18 Mile Road will be improved from DeQuinder to Ryan. Hayes Road from 14 Mile Road to 15 Mile Road. Utica Road from Hayes Road to Shaner Road. Metro Parkway from DeQuinder Road to Ryan Road. And Saul Road from Clinton River Road to 19 Mile Road. Improvements to Pondview Drive are also scheduled, and some miscellaneous investment for an anticipated expenditure of $11 million in 2020. 2021 will see the reconstruction of Mound Road, although like Jennifer said, we are pushing to try to get it to start in the late summer of 2020. 19 Mile Road has also received a federal aid for a project in 2021 to provide improvement similar to that was done on Canal Road just to the north in 2018. 14 Mile Road project between Van Dyke and Maple Lane is in the forecast, as well as a 19 Mile Road resurfacing project between DeQuinder and Ryan. And with other miscellaneous investment, the 2021 total is over $226 million. 2022, we'll see an improvement from Hayes Road from M59 to the south. And federal aid has been secured on Metro Parkway west of Dodge Park Road. And other repairs brings the 2022 total to $6.9 million. And the last year of the five-year plan is 2023. Federal aid's been secured to resurface 2 miles of Ryan Road from Metro Parkway to 18 Mile Road. 14 Mile Road improvement between Maple Lane and Shaner is projected, as well as a project to address Shaner Road south of M59. The 2023 total reaches $8.5 million. In total, the 5-year major road plan brings a total investment of over $268 million and spreads many different major roadways within the city of Sterling Heights. Taking even one more step back and looking at the 2014 to 2022 plan that was kicked off with the Van Dyke construction in early 2014, highlighted roads have received capital improvement to date. Adding in the upcoming projects to 2019, and in the remaining projects within the 5-year plan, the vast majority of the major roads will have received capital improvement with a total investment of over $416 million. Thank you, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you. And Mayor, moving on, the city has a reputation for providing high-quality services at a low cost for businesses and residents. In fact, as you saw in the video, Sterling Heights tax rate ranks among the lowest compared to cities in the county and across the state. The number of city employees, our largest cost center, ranks very low on a per capita basis compared to other cities in the state and nationally for that matter. The city's high performance is aided by technology and state-of-the-art software. The next two presentations will focus on technology that will not only improve efficiencies, but save money long-term. So let's begin now with our city controller, Nick Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I am pleased to be here this evening to discuss a need and an opportunity related to the city's financial software. As you're well aware, the city relies on various software packages every day to accomplish tasks and keep the city running. Some examples of these products are Munis, which is our financial accounting software that handles tasks like accounts payable, payroll, and keeps our general ledger. BS&A, which handles our tax administration, assessing functions, and permitting for the building and code enforcement departments. CityWorks, which handles our fleet management and various DPW functions. New World, which is used by police and fire. Kronos, which is currently being implemented to handle timekeeping and scheduling. RecPro, which is our parks and recreation software. Our GIS system, which maps city assets, and dozens of other programs, each handling a specific function and purpose for the myriad of responsibilities we have here at the city. You could probably guess that all these separate systems require significant coordination and effort to maintain and upkeep. Our end user departments, along with our IT department, do a good job of keeping these systems up to date and running efficiently. However, in conjunction with IT's new 5-year technology plan, we're taking a step back and assessing our software at the city to make sure that it's the right fit for our needs. Looking at our financial software, I think there's some room for improvement. When we began exploring the idea of transitioning to a new financial software, we identified 3 goals that would have to be met in order for us to move from our current vendor, which again is Tyler Technologies Munis. The new software would need to have increased integration with existing systems. IT would tell you that continuing to buy one-off systems is not the right way to get an efficient and streamlined software suite for the city. To that end, we're working towards the goal of having all our systems able to talk to one another, which will minimize duplicated information and effort. The system would have to have increased capabilities. Any new financial software would have to be better suited for our needs and add automation wherever possible. And lastly, it'd have to provide some financial savings. Any new software has to make financial sense for the city, as this is critical for sustainability of city systems. After reviewing these goals, it became obvious that BS&A checks all the boxes previously laid out. Regarding integration, if you look at the functions laid out in the 3 columns on this slide, implementing BS&A would effectively move everything to the center column. Having all our financial functions in one product will eliminate the need for double entry, having 2 systems of record for transactions, and streamline the data flow between our departments. It will also lead to process improvements. Just some of the expected improvements and efficiency gains are laid out on this slide. For example, accounts payable could implement digitalization of invoices, electronic approval of invoices. That would reduce our storage footprint and paper flow. We could implement electronic check requests for vendor payments. On the treasury side, a single system for cash receipting would greatly reduce the amount of effort for our counter staff. Having our utility billing and tax system integrated would increase efficiencies related to our delinquent water bills. Enhanced project management would be gained through engineering, city development, and budgeting being all on the same system. We'd also gain integration with RecPro, as BSNA is one of the preferred vendors for that software. So this is just an example of some of the improvements that we would gain with an integrated system. Lastly, and just as important, is savings. BSNA is significantly less costly than our existing financial system. While the initial price of implementation is around $750,000, the annual maintenance costs are around half of what we're currently paying to Tyler Technologies. At a projected 5% inflation rate, these savings would offset the initial investment in about 7.5 years. Projected over 10 years, this change could potentially save the city over $200,000. For reference, we implemented Munis in 2001, so we've been using that system for 18 years. I've compiled a little more information about BSNA to give you an idea of what kind of company they are. BSNA serves municipalities exclusively and has extensive experience with municipal clients across Michigan and the country. Founded in 1987, BSNA has over 2,000 municipal clients with over 7,500 installations of their various software applications. BSNA has over 97% of the Michigan assessment and tax market and currently has over 500 installations of their financial management and utility billing software. So if we were going to change providers, we'd be in good company. Further, while innovation sometimes requires risk, you never really want to be the first to try something when it comes to a financial software. You want your product to be well tested and proven before implementing. To that end, BSNA Financials has been installed at many communities with comparable needs, including Warren, Flint, Clinton Township, Novi, Royal Oak, and Dearborn Heights, just to name a few. So what's next? A few things to keep in mind. While initial exploration has been very promising, city staff will continue its due diligence to vet this software before recommending purchase to council. After we're satisfied that BSNA is the software we think it to be, we'll come back to council for approval. As a reminder, our goals for this change are to improve integration of our systems, improve system processes, and save money and time. Assuming budget approval in May, we'll continue our assessment of the software through year end and into the new fiscal year. After we present the recommendation to council and it's approved, we'll plan our implementation and most likely start the implementation in December of 2019. Thank you very much for your time.
So again, technology is a really important component of the budget and a big part of all that we'll be doing the next year. Continuing on, the Sterling Heights Initiative for Neighborhood Excellence, better known as SHINE, was initiated over 10 years ago. It's a multifaceted program which has resulted in thousands of homes being cleaned up and millions of dollars reinvested in properties throughout the city. And it's paying off. Our property values are very high. And just today in the Chicago Tribune, they noted a national study by Insurify that outlined the highest percentages of home ownership, cities that ranked in the top 20. And fortunately, Sterling Heights ranked in the top 10 with communities like Naperville and Gilbert, Arizona, and Simi Valley, California, and so on. That's in terms of the percentage of home ownership. We ranked around 72%, just over 72%. Again, a signal that our neighborhoods are strong and that individuals take pride in their properties. Our City Development Director, Jason Castor, will provide an update on how the initiative SHINE is helping to keep property values high and ownership strong in our neighborhoods. And after Mr. Castor, the City Planner will provide an overview of another exciting technology upgrade.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My presentation tonight will provide an update on the efforts of code enforcement. And depending on the case or complaint that comes to the attention of code enforcement, our officers hear it all. Code enforcement is either too strict or not strict enough. However, we know that the hard work is paying off by the number of properties cleaned up and from the 2018 SEVs for the cities and townships in Macomb County. Shown here is data obtained from the Michigan Department of Treasury of the top 5 equalized values for local units in Macomb County. Sterling Heights has the highest overall property valuation and is in first in residential and commercial valuation of all communities in the county. I like to think that the code enforcement model we have in Sterling Heights, cleaning up thousands of properties, plays a role in this. The 2030 Visioning Plan guiding principle of providing well-maintained and desirable neighborhoods and attractive commercial centers is supported by the efforts of code enforcement. Through the code enforcement process, we aim to achieve voluntary compliance for homes and commercial centers to be maintained. Shown here is a great example of a home with well-maintained exterior appearance, a trimmed lawn, and groomed landscaping. Not only residential but commercial developments should be maintained as well. Shown here, new developments are designed and built with enhanced landscaping and decorative elements. Keeping them maintained helps the overall appearance of our commercial areas. In existing developments have planted trees to the city's increased landscaping requirement. These improvements provide many benefits, some of which are increased curb appeal and increasing the city's tree canopy coverage. Now let's review the code enforcement process. I will review this briefly, then get into some detail on the various steps. All cases generally follow a similar process, starting with a violation, finding a violation, either proactive or complaint-based. A proactive complaint is when the code officer identifies the violation. That complaint is then scheduled for a follow-up inspection, typically within 24 hours. If the violation is confirmed, a notice of violation is sent to the owner with a follow-up inspection, typically 7 to 14 days later. During this time, the owner may contact the officer and work out a mutually agreeable time frame to complete the work. If the work is completed by the property owner, that case is closed. However, if still not in compliance, a follow-up inspection is performed, which the code officer can either provide more time if progress is being made, or send to the Ordinance Board of Appeals to address the issues. Once at OBA, the owner has the opportunity to state their case and seek additional time, after which the board will make an abatement recommendation. Based on that recommendation, the code officer will complete the work order and send to the city's abatement contractor. After the work is completed, an invoice is sent to the property owner and the case is closed. All code violations start with a proactive or calling complaint. If you would like to notify the city of a potential violation, you can use any of the following methods, either by calling City Hall or the city's city development number, post a comment on social media through city's Facebook or Twitter page, or what is becoming very popular is using See-Click-Fix. Since 2016, we have responded to over 1,400 See-Click-Fix complaints. Once code enforcement is notified, the cases are assigned to a code officer based on this map. The 36 square miles of the city is divided among all code officers. All inspections and calls related to their assigned sections are distributed to the inspector for follow-up. The code officer interacts with many people on a daily basis responding to complaints. Sometimes this can be the resident's first interaction with a city employee. Having a professional appearance is important when interacting with residents. We have outfitted all the officers with city logo clothing so they can be easily identified as employees of the city. In addition to promote a professional appearance, we have started to replace the old rusted vehicles with over 100,000 miles and other mechanical issues that the officers are currently driving with all new all-wheel drive Escapes. We have replaced 3 vehicles this year, and next year we intend to replace the remainder of the vehicles. Having all-wheel drive vehicles is important in the daily tasks of the code officers, which may require driving through deep snow during a snow emergency or driving up onto the median to remove an illegal sign. Here's a chart showing the inspection history for the last 5 years. In 2018, code officers have performed almost 23,000 inspections, resulting in 12,391 cases being cleaned up. In general, the numbers have increased. Inspections for 2017 show a slight decrease, which was a result of some staff turnover. In 2018, we were at full staffing with 11 code officers. At a ratio of 4-to-1, violations found in the city are a result of proactive enforcement. As code officers are out canvassing their sections or on another inspections, violations found are entered into the system. The amount of proactive violations found is impressive. If the program was complaint-based only, the result would be significantly less at around 2,500 cases per year. A majority of the complaints that come in are a result of the code officers not being able to see the violation, being there in a rear yard or blocked by a privacy fence. After a notice of violation is sent to the property owner, resulting in non-compliance, the case may be forwarded to the Ordinance Board of Appeals. The OBA Board is made up of 5 residents appointed by council. Using our OBA process is different from other communities who process all cases through the court system. Using the OBA process is preferable as it accomplishes cleanups at a quicker pace. The city has 2 ordinance boards. OBA 1 meets year-round with 2 meetings a month from June through September and 1 meeting a month through the winter months. The OBA 2 board meets on Wednesdays, May through October, and was added to lighten the caseload of the Ordinance Board 1 during the busiest months of the year. Between the 2 boards, there are 22 meetings a year. The last 5 years, OBA caseload is shown here. In 2018, 351 cases were sent to OBA. This is out of the over 12,000 cases that were identified. This equates to 97% of the properties addressing the violation prior to making the OBA meeting. In addition, after the OBA meeting and prior to the city's contractor having to abate additional properties are cleaned up, achieving 99% compliance prior to the contractor services. This highlights how effective code enforcement is, resulting in thousands of properties being addressed. OBA will act on a variety of cases from residential to commercial. Shown here is a commercial cleanup of a vacant restaurant. Here's a before picture showing unkept landscaping. And after the cleanup, a fire hydrant was found behind the overgrowth. Trash and debris not placed in a dumpster, which can be a concern for attracting animals. The after picture shows that the contractor removes such debris. The dumpster enclosure at the property was damaged and not functioning. Contractor replaced hinges and painted the doors. Residential cleanups are more common, and shown here are a couple cases where backyards were in need of some serious TLC. Here we have a pool area with landscape maintenance needs and pool with a damaged cover. The contractor cleaned the area and installed a new pool cover. Shown here is a walkout basement filled with all sorts of debris and nuisance growth, sent to our abatement contractor, who did a great job cleaning it up. Following the work from our contractor, a code officer will visit the site, take after pictures, generate the invoice for the owner. At this point, the property is now cleaned up and the case is closed. Here you will see a list of common violations found throughout the city, from landscape and property maintenance to holiday lights, which at this time all Christmas lights should be down, and snow violations, which include sidewalk snow removal and snow emergency tickets for vehicles parked in the street. This year, the city has cited 156 properties for not shoveling their walkways and ticketed 690 vehicles for parking in the street during a snow emergency. Tall grass violations are very common, and compliance is administered through the following process. The process starts with an advertisement during the month of March that all property owners are required to maintain their lawn in a height of less than 6 inches. This notice allows code enforcement to tag properties in violation starting on May 1st. Once a property is tagged, it's added to the list and forwarded to our contractor to address the following day. An invoice is sent to the property owners after services are completed. Here's a graph showing the properties tagged in violation with a breakdown per month. In 2018, 1,974 properties were tagged, bringing them into compliance. Of those properties tagged, 522 were serviced by the city's contractor. Due to the amount of violations during spring and summer, one code officer is assigned this program as their primary task. The month of May, as you can see here, is typically the busiest month with a commencement of the program. The 20,000 plus inspections and over 10,000 cases resulting in numerous violations and properties being cleaned up would not be possible without the hard work of the department. This includes frontline clerical staff to assistants from various departments and to the code enforcement officers led by Code Enforcement Coordinator Dana Vietto. Code enforcement is currently operating with 11 code officers and will be hiring another part-time code officer this year, which will double code enforcement staff over the past 10 years. The increase in staff is largely related to the proactive nature of the city's code enforcement. In conclusion, our code officers work to achieve voluntary compliance through the enforcement of the property maintenance code and city ordinances. And in addition, the code enforcement process helps to preserve and maintain the appearance and property values in our residential and commercial areas, which I like to think contributes to Sterling Heights having the highest overall property valuation in the county. That concludes my presentation on code enforcement. I would like to now turn the presentation over to City Planner Chris McLeod, who will review new innovations to the development review process aimed to help projects get approved faster and save money.
And Mayor, while the city planner is getting ready, pulling up his presentation, I just want to remind residents now that we're getting into the grass mowing season, if you notice lots that are well in excess of 6 inches, you can simply call 446 City, email us, numerous ways you can contact any one of us, and we'll be happy to get the property tagged and get it mowed quickly. There's nothing more than a great effect when you have a lot that's tall with grass and can be mowed quickly. It has a dramatic impact on the neighborhood very quickly. We can solve those problems within a matter of a day or two. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Vanderpool. Tonight I'd like to update you on how the Community Development Department is conducting their reviews for all new development within the city and what that process now includes. So it wasn't too long ago that prior to the implementation of the new technology we'll get into in a second ago, you saw long, wordy reviews like this coming out of the planning department that would tell developers what they needed to change on a site plan. The only problem was there's a lot of text here, but it doesn't necessarily directly link to what is on the plan that it's reviewing. You also saw desks that had calculators and rulers and large plans and ordinance books sitting on the desk, cluttering the desk, kind of the old-fashioned way of doing things. You saw handwriting all over sheets of site plans that went from page to page to page that had a lot of information on them, but was cumbersome to actually produce. And you saw numbers of sheets. This is actually a relatively short one for planning purpose, but if you got into an engineering set of plans, this set of sheets could be 100 to 200 pages long, an inch to 2 inches thick, and very cumbersome to take a look at. So what's new in our process? Well, a little over a year ago, the city got involved with the Redevelopment Ready Communities program as a way to continue our already efficient development review process. While not a direct requirement of the program, the city purchased new computer tablets and development review and tracking software. Working through the city's IT department, the City Community Development Department was able to purchase 10 Dell Canvas tablets, and an additional tablet also went down to the city's GIS department. Blue Beam review software, and an additional extension to the city's existing BSNA software called PZ&E for development tracking purposes. So the new Dell Canvas computers, there was a total of 11 of them. Engineering received 5, planning received 2, building received 3, GIS received 1 of those. We received these about 2 months ago. So in reality, all of us down in the Community Development Department are still figuring things out and becoming more familiar with the programs and with the tablets themselves. They are really incredible machines. With the overall system, you get a 27-inch touchscreen surface paired with a 34-inch curved monitor. So the touchscreen monitor will allow you to basically work it like a tablet, either on finger swipes, and you'll see that in a second here in a short video, or with stylus, or you can still use mouse and keyboard technology. It's funny to say that that's almost old school technology now to use a mouse and a keyboard, but with that, again, you get the stylus and what's called a totem. You'll see that in the video as well. for zooming in and out and doing some control functions. So again, another view of what this system set up. This is in one of the engineers departments. So the pairing of the two monitors really allows for a great efficiency in terms of how you work this system. So on the top screen, you can see there's an aerial photo that kind of shows you the exact location of the property, what's going on the property, how it fits into the overall context. On the bottom screen, which is the tablet, which is actually the site plan in this case, you can be reviewing your site plan while instantly looking up and down compared to what the aerial photo says, or you can have a different sheet up of the same set, so you don't necessarily have to flip pages back and forth or go bounce back between different screens. It allows you very efficiently to move back and forth between all the information that you need to review. And again, this is another one of the engineers' setups in terms of in one of their offices. You can see one of the plans set off to the side of that PEA set of plans that's rolled up. That is one of the engineering plans that before we receive these computers, they would have to go through page by page, handwriting out the comments in terms of realistically what was going on with the engineering review. That set of plans was probably about 15 pounds, and that was just one set. It's about 1.5 inches thick when unrolled, so you can see that there was a number of different sheets going on there. Again, and just another setup here in the planning department. This is the planning coordinator setup. Her computer screen, additional computer screen set to the side. So it's kind of customizable in terms of how you set it up for each individual use. So the Bluebeam review software. So this is paired again with this actual computer setup. It is basically the industry standard for review communications within the industry. About 94% of the top U.S. contractors utilize this, and 86% of the top U.S. firms utilize Bluebeam. There's a total of 1.3 million users worldwide. When we talk to the developers and when we talk to specifically their engineers and architects, when we say that we use Bluebeam software, they all basically say, that's great, we use it too, so they can integrate the comments and review exactly what we're doing as well. So now we're synced up even more with the development world moving forward. So this kind of shows you a screenshot of what we look at when we see the computer screen and when we start reviewing a plan. So basically, either using stylus or using mouse or using your keyboard, you can type in the notes and so forth. There's a lot of different layers going on. One of the things that's interesting with this, it allows you to provide different layers of comments. This is particularly important with either the building department or the engineering department, where they have a number of people reviewing the same set of plans. So each layer can be a different reviewer. The engineering department, when they go through their initial review, each engineer reviews the same set of plans. They can provide all their comments on a different level, and then Brent, our head engineer, can go through, take a look at every single one of those layers and say, okay, I like this comment, I don't like this comment, and then merge them all together in creating a much more efficient setting. Same thing with the building department. You'll have electrical review, plumbing review, mechanical review. Those can all be set on different layers, all compressed into a singular review, so that way they get one clean set of plans that can be sent back to them electronically. Again, just a different screenshot of a different site that we were looking at. So again, here is just kind of a zoomed in version. It didn't zoom in for me, but realistically what the comments look like in terms of the screenshot. So there, if you go back to the initial letter I showed you, that was a lot of text that said, please provide landscaping at a certain location on the site. This will tell you and point to exactly what the reviewer is actually looking at in terms of what they want at a certain particular site. So here we'll take a short video. So again, that was just a very short snippet, obviously, of what is normally a 3 or 4 hour review. It's kind of hard to compress that into a short video presentation, but those tablets are very impressive in that, again, they allow you to kind of, just with your fingertips or with your stylus, scroll in and scroll out of the actual site plan you're looking at, if you need to look at it in more detail, and then provide the comments exactly where you need to put them. So what are the benefits of all this system? If they're not clear by now, we'll kind of go through them. So the developer benefits. So response efficiency, which is time and clarity. So the city is always striving to provide a more efficient review process to the developers. How quickly can we respond to a developer when they submit site plans? The city has always traditionally had an incredibly efficient review process, but this makes it all the more so. Basically, it eliminates the need to mail plans back and forth, which was the way that things used to happen, or the developer would have to come in themselves and pick up the plans, whichever the case may have been. So there's cost savings there. Obviously, in terms of postage, in terms of the developer, if they had to come in and pick up the plans, some of our developers or some of the engineers that we deal with or architects are an hour or 2 hours away. So if they had to basically take a half day out of their time to come in and pick up a set of plans, and then they would then have to take them back, let's say it was a developer, they would have to take it back to their engineer and say, this is what the city gave me in terms of my review comments, now go ahead and fix them. So he's tracking that plan himself all the way through the process, whereas now we can simply email it to them. And within minutes, they have all of our comments and exactly what we're thinking. Additional cost savings, and this might seem like a very minimal thing, but when you actually take the numbers and add them up, it's pretty substantial. So just printing cost alone in terms of what the development goes through. And this is kind of a average, if you will. There'll be some cost savings that are less than this, but actually there'll also be some more that are more costly than this. But on average, the cost savings for a development would be about $5,200 just in printing. And how we derive that number is, let's say when you submit an engineering set of drawings, typically the engineering before all this was implemented would require 10 sets of drawings. You figure that some of the engineering sets that they received were 100 or were 100 to 120 total pages. You figure that realistically there was a cost of about $5 per sheet. You start to add all that up, you have several submissions, probably 3 submissions for your typical engineering review, plus one final review set that would have to come in. You get about $3,600 or $3,900 based on the engineering review costs. Same thing was happening in the planning department. We would require about 10 sets of plans to come in. Our sets are a little bit smaller, but still that same cost per sheet. So realistically, if you went through one review set on the planning side and had a final set as well, we require 4 sets at final. So that's a total of 14 sets of plans just to the planning department that don't have to come in. So that's basically where we got that $5,200, almost $5,300 per standard site plan cost savings. And overall time savings, again, this is on a average type basis. We derived it to basically be 1 week per site plan or per application that would come in. That can be saved between city staff and the city and the developer themselves. Again, that's that traveling time, dropping off plans, sending plans, getting them to the post office, getting things sent to the printer, picking those up from the printer, all those different things, as well as the efficiency of review times. Engineering, when they would go through a plan review, again, they would handwrite out every single review comment on all those sheets of paper and then go back through and then present a presentable copy, so to speak, once all the engineers went through it. Planners would take all their comments from those sheets, create that wordy report, so they'd have to retype everything out, again, additional time. But the other time savings that's somewhat quantifiable but not truly is the fact that the clarity of our reviews. So now the developer knows exactly what we're looking for, or the design engineer or design architect. And realistically, when they can say, yeah, this is exactly what Chris is looking for, or this is what the engineer is looking for in the review, it saves a phone call. It saves a meeting. What did you mean by this comment? So now we're basically saying, do this exactly, and that will satisfy the comment. So it reduces the amount of time that we have to spend on things. So again, this was the kind of the application we used to get. This is LA Fitness. This is one set of drawings. You can see kind of the thickness there. We'd also require a CD, and then there's the application. This is what we get now. And then we're going to take that one step further, and we'll show that in just 1 second. That we now have, when we do a preliminary site plan review and an approval, we send out an email, and it goes out to everyone that we want it to go out to, and says, here's a link to the set of approved plans. So there's no more sending it to the post office, there's no more having the developer come in, there's no more signing and stamping multiple sets of plans. There's a link to the approved plan that's within the city storage system, and then the developer also has access to it, and they simply download the approved plan itself. This is a screenshot of the FTP site. Developers now use this to submit their plans. They can, in theory, if they want to, send in a flash drive or a USB, but we also utilize the FTP site. And that will then lead into kind of our next steps as well, and we'll get into those in 1 second. But again, city benefits, faster response times, clear review comments, greater ability to share comments, going back to that layering of the different review comments, no doubling up on work. Again, you're not going back and rewriting comments or rewriting a review. Reduce storage needs. That's one of the huge things that we're going through right now in trying to reduce the amount of storage that we have. You can imagine that some of these sets of drawings, again, hundreds of pages, are all basically stored within the basement of the city. And as we go through the renovations of City Hall, we're going to be looking at where do we store all these different pieces of paper. We have been spending tens of thousands of dollars to digitize all the plans that we have. We will no longer have to do that. Obviously, the ones that are paper now, we have to deal with those, but moving forward, there will be no additional need for spending of money for storage needs going forward. Digital storage space, yes, but that's a minuscule amount compared to what the physical storage or digitizing costs would be for paper product. And then again, a direct link to BSNA and PZ&E. As we move forward, as you go into, basically now anyone that can go into BSNA, and that's available at our counters here or available on the web as well, you can go through and say, a preliminary plan was approved on 2/7/2019. If you link on the attachments there, or click on the attachments, it will basically link you right to that site plan, so anyone at our counter can go in and see the actual site plan that was approved, what it looked like, every sheet of it. Right now, if it's a file that's a paper copy, we have to go into the basement, search out that paper copy. There's stored in storage bins, there's rolls of paper in the basement. So it's a very cumbersome process. We have to look up the site plan number, then try to track it down. Or the other option right now for some of the older plans is microfilmed. We have to go find the microfilm, load it up on our microfilm machine. That is a very old machine that's probably on some of its last legs. So to get away from that, obviously everything being digital will be a much better experience. So what are our next steps? Further integration to our development portal. Realistically, we want to further cement in the fact that people can move plans in and out of this development portal for submitting documents. Again, right now, we are ramping our way into this, but realistically, we want to make a more prominent presence on the city's website, and particularly the community development website, in terms of how people submit plans, how they get information back. So as we continue to develop this, you'll see major changes to that portal itself. And then in terms of PZ&E training, BSNA training, that'll happen late summer, early fall. We're still trying to push them forward in terms of getting us an earlier training time for the actual BSNA training, the extension of that. Right now, BSNA, the portion that we utilize, is basically dedicated for building. We try to put engineering and planning into it. We make it work, but PZ&E is now a specific BSNA module that includes planning and engineering, and it works seamlessly with the building element, so we'll be able to further track and further implement permitting and tracking of those permits in the coming months as we get PZ&E online. That's already budgeted, it's already purchased, now we're just waiting for the actual training to come forward. Just a screenshot there in terms of what PZ&E ultimately would look like. But realistically, that is what we are doing in terms of our development review process moving forward. So we continue to innovate. We're one of the few communities in the state that do this. And so we're only hoping to take it to the next level again with further integration with digitization and working online with digital submittals. So with that, that's our presentation from the Community Development Department.
And Mayor, we now have our last presenter, who is our Community Relations Director, Bridget Kozlowski, who will provide an update on the city's ongoing community engagement efforts, an update on our public art program, an expansion of the recently created mural program, which is proving to be very popular with residents and businesses. Thank you.
All right. Last presentation, stick with me. Good evening, Mayor Taylor, members of City Council, Mr. Vanderpool, and Mr. Koszybski. I'm happy to be here tonight to highlight community relations initiatives, goals, and strategy for 2019-2020. To begin, I want to reiterate the department's continued direction as digital first. More and more of our customer service inquiries are coming in through email, SigClickFix, which is our customer service management software, or through inquiries we receive through social media, be that Facebook or Twitter @mentions. For example, here's a recent screenshot I took of our Sterling Heights City Hall Facebook messages on a random Tuesday morning. As you can see, we received multiple messages every single day, including over the weekend. Our digital content coordinator manages these messages by reaching out to the corresponding department leader and then responding to the person who sent the message in a timely fashion. More and more, we're seeing questions, comments, and requests coming through social media and less through physical walk-ins at City Hall. We still receive a high volume of calls, but in the next decade, we also anticipate that number to decline. I also want to highlight SHTV's continued focus on digital first in their efforts to produce content focused for an online audience rather than traditional long-form cable programming of the past. While we are unable to get viewership numbers from our cable providers, our gut tells us, and the PEG revenue Jennifer mentioned tells us as well, that it will continue to decline culturally as more people are cutting their cord and relying on streaming services such as Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and now Apple's recently announced venture into streaming. At the same time, we're seeing the online audience, largely social media driven, is driving clicks on posts with complementary content such as these videos and photos. Analytics tell us the short videos under 2 minutes, mostly those 60 seconds or less, are getting our largest viewership numbers, and those also get our largest engagement by residents. While there is still value in the long-form programming from time to time, and we will continue to produce quality content of all different lengths, we are ensuring that we are adaptable to changing demands by remaining relevant and fresh. YouTube is where we house all of our videos seen here. Lastly, in the social media world, we're drilling down our efforts on Instagram. While Facebook remains the most engaged social media platform, and especially for the homeowner demographic we're focused on, Instagram is quickly approaching Facebook levels. Recent statistics reveal Instagram has 1 billion monthly users, and more than 60% of those users log in daily. 35% of U.S. internet users are on Instagram, and 90% are younger than 35. The biggest demographic is 18 to 24, covering about 60% of users. As Sterling Heights looks to position itself to attract not only young families, but also next-generation workforce talent, Instagram cannot be left behind. Our 2018 summer intern, Jasmine Jordan, really helped us jump feet first into this platform last year, and our new digital content coordinator, Marissa, is an Instagram whiz who has truly stepped up our content. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. I also want to take this opportunity to talk about community relations continued cross-department, this one out of order, sorry. I'm here to talk also about email marketing and our revamp. Our current listserv number is 7901 with our goal count by this upcoming December at 15,000. We are going to use a number of campaign tactics and have recently moved sign up for e-news to the very front page of our homepage on the website so no one can miss it. We want to be able to capture all of our users who come to the website and encourage them to sign up for e-news, not only our general e-newsletter, but also the various other break-off letters that we have as well. To go back to the cross-department collaboration I just touched on, we have really stepped up what we're doing with our other departments. The functions of community relations is not only to ensure that the city is effectively communicating with the public, but also to ensure each of our departments is adequately supported in its communication efforts and has continued strong positive visibility in the community. In the past 2 years, we added a Parks and Recreation Facebook page, a Dodge Park Farmers Market Facebook page, and a Sterling Heights Police Department Facebook page. Each of these branch-off pages from the city were done strategically and thoughtfully, as we want to ensure we're not spreading our branches too wide and thinning out our audience and messaging. However, with each of these 3 pages I just mentioned, we found there was not only a demand by the public for more information related to the topic, but also the internal departmental support to continue to drive regular content. This requires the department either assign someone to produce that content or provide community relations with enough for us to manage it for them. Community relations will continue to be the lead department on social media and kind of the house, but also is allowing for collaboration that has developed into great relationships with other departments. Additionally, this year, we kicked off a new city communicators collaboration meeting that's monthly to allow each department to bring to us upcoming initiatives, events, and potentially important public information campaigns that community relations can assist with. While this has always been our function, community relations is now doing less time mining and hoping for information will fall into our laps, and more seeking out the stories in advance with the departments by asking them what's relevant and new in a face-to-face setting. We're also using Twitter more effectively with each department to share their breaking news and updates as they happen in real time. For example, here's something from our fire department. Here's something from DPW and our police department. While we still operate only one Twitter account, our followers are now seeing a more wide breadth of timely content. This year, we are also planning a marketing campaign for the city to hopefully launch in late summer. The goals of the campaign include to raise Sterling Heights' profile in Metro Detroit as a destination for families, to reach beyond Macomb to Oakland, Wayne, Washtenaw, and beyond with targeted advertising, to tout our recreation opportunities open to all, to highlight our great schools, low crime, low taxes, high quality of life, and focus on unique shopping, dining, and activities, and also attract talent to high-paying jobs in Sterling Heights and encourage this talent to live where they work. You'll recall last year we announced at the State of the City the Push Play 365 campaign, which focused on branding Sterling Heights as a recreation destination with year-round family fun. Now that we've laid that groundwork, we want to launch into a larger 2019 marketing campaign. We will focus drilling down on a target audience of those mentioned earlier. We'll use targeted advertising placement on social media. We are going to look into TV advertising on our cable networks during prime time. And we're also looking into billboards. And while billboards may seem antiquated, statistics are showing that billboards are still some of the most useful advertising opportunities. And lastly, I'd like to talk about public art. The Community Relations Department has revamped the city's public art program in 2018 and plans to continue the momentum into 2019. So those were our 3 murals that were installed last year. The first on the back of the children's garden in the library, the second on the M53 underpass, and the third on the back of the BP gas station across the street. For this year, we are hoping to continue the mural momentum. We put out a call for interested businesses seeking a mural to fill out a form on the city's website, and we will continue to garner interest through these submissions. We are also pursuing 4 locations that have not yet been secured, but are of interest to the city. I also want to highlight our collaboration with the DIA. As has been announced, we are looking into, we are actually putting in a mural on the side of the police station, which I have been told is now going to be August of this year. It features a police-focused mural, and then at the bottom you can see the tiles. Those were artwork done by our police officers and their children. We're very excited about this collaboration with the DIA and bringing this to life. And another thing I wanted to highlight is that we are continuing to collaborate with the DIA to promote opportunities for residents to visit the DIA as often as possible. The DIA is free to those who live in Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne. And coming up next month, we will be taking a bus down for our boards and commissioners so that they can get out and see the DIA. And there are also multiple opportunities for residents through our senior center, and anyone interested in a trip down to the DIA can contact me in community relations. Everbright is something I also wanted to highlight. This was approved at the most recent city council meeting. It's a bright interactive light wall for all ages, inspired by Lightbright, and it's a huge grid of hundreds of adjustable color dials that rotate endlessly in either direction through the color spectrum. This will be coming to the children's section of our library and was inspired by Tammy Turgeon, who is a staunch advocate for our library, and we're lucky to have her. She took me on a trip to the Canton Library to see that in Everbright in Canton, and is just gung-ho to get this going. So we're very grateful the City Council approved this, and here's a short video. So what's fun about Everbright, I just want to highlight, is that it's an engagement piece of art. So children, adults, and when we were in Canton, we saw people of all ages playing together and talking and spinning the lights. So I'm really excited to see that come to the library. Another thing that the Arts Commission just approved last week, us to look more into, is a mosaic project. And this is something that we are hoping that will be installed potentially in the community center or inside one of our city buildings that will allow residents to create a tile, mosaic tile, that they can contribute to a larger piece of art that will be installed again in a city building. So more information on this project to come. We're working with a group that's local, and hopefully, again, everyone's tile will contribute to a larger picture. Again, promoting that engagement element of public art. So one thing I also wanted to highlight is public art and its return on investment. When we talk about public art, we have to highlight its value, not only bringing color, culture, and excitement to the city, but also its potential financial impact. There is, in fact, a proven return on investment with public art in Sterling Heights. In 2018, the city had a professional appraisal company, Heritage Appraisals, based out of Troy, to come value our entire public art collection as it stands. The appraiser took into account the artist, the medium, the date created, the edition, and the current condition, and then its market value. The final report: the city of Sterling Heights has an art collection valued of over $1 million. Here's a valuation spreadsheet. I wanted to highlight a few things here. What's very important is the investment by the city in the last 30 plus years of public art has been roughly $424,000, but we're valued at over $1 million. That means that over time, our collection has increased in value by nearly $530,000, or nearly 139%. In the spreadsheet you see here, you'll see the piece, the year purchased, the artist, the original purchase price, the appraised value, the value increase or decrease, and the percent change. So as you can see by looking at the chart very easily, we only had two pieces that went down in value, and that value was only $1,000 difference. However, overall, our collection has increased $530,000. I wanted to highlight a few pieces that had some very significant increase. In use, which you'll see in the Sterling Heights Public Library, it's on a wall upstairs. Purchased for $6,000, currently valued at $30,000 for a 400% increase. X's and O's by Mark Belchenko, which we actually just had repainted with his permission, so that it's brighter again. Purchased for $2,200 roughly, now valued at $5,000. The Burst by Ray Katz, purchased for $12,000, currently valued at $25,000, and our biggest increase. Two Bears by Marshall Fredericks, purchased for $30,000, currently valued at $400,000, for a large value increase. So our most significant piece of public art is gladly front and center in front of our library. Very iconic. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity, and that concludes my report.
And Mayor, that concludes all of our presentations. We're available to address any questions from the City Council, and please be reminded the appropriation ordinance needs to be introduced. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool, and to everyone who made the presentations tonight. Continuing with past practice and in accordance with our agenda, I think what we'll do, Council, unless there are any objections, we'll hear from the audience on these presentations in this item, and then we'll hold our comments until after the ordinance introductions. So is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? If not, Council, the next item on our agenda is the ordinance introduction, and this is to introduce the fiscal year 2019-2020 appropriations ordinance. Do I have a motion?
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarko.
to introduce the fiscal year 2019-20 appropriations ordinance.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Zarko.
I have comments, and they're all positive, because this is exciting. It's one thing to read our budget over and over again, but when you come here and you have the presentation, it really is so exciting. I can't see anything that actually needs to be changed in what you brought with, tonight, because there are so many things that we don't see that you have made improvements on, and that would be in planning with this new program. It's not something that we interact with every day, but it's something that I know is going to benefit both the city and the developer because of these improvements. So the only question that I would have is to Mr. McLeod, and it has to do with the access to the plans on the website and the link. I guess, are the plans only available then to the person that submitted the plans, or are they open to the public to see? Through the chair.
Mr. McLeod.
So the initial dispersal of the plan is solely to the developer/applicant, as well as all necessary city personnel and city liaisons. Once the plan is then uploaded to BSNA, then it would be viewable to anyone in the public that has access to the BSNA software. So available on the web. So the initial dispersal, which is very quickly, is to the applicant, but then all public is able to, it's a public record, so obviously viewable to all public.
And will any changes be able to be made once that's posted on, for the public to view? You wouldn't be able to make change, and somebody couldn't go in and make changes to it, what I'm asking? Through the chair.
Mr. McLeod.
No, absolutely not. So those documents are locked. So in terms of when plans are approved, we have digital stamps that planning, engineering, and building all have. Any commentary in terms of conditions of approval are all put on right onto those plans, and those documents are then locked, so there is no changing of those. They're password protected and so forth. So once we put them on the web, they are safe. Again, that information is all stored on our servers, so it is not for anyone out there in the general public to modify. It's obviously a city document, so.
Okay. And through the chair again, as long as we're talking. Have you heard any comments from developers about this particular program?
We have, well, in terms of the entire process. So The developers have been, first of all, they've been quite surprised, because again, we are one of a very few number of communities in the state that have this kind of system and have this kind of process, going fully digital. A lot of them are, the initial response is, are you sure you don't need copies? And we say no, and I had an engineer just the other day say, well, this is gonna be a 150-page engineering plan. You mean you don't want copies of this? And I said, no, then when you get into engineering, they'll take it completely digitally. And again, that was one of those submittals that you'd say, 150 pages times $5 a page times 10 copies of the entire submittal. 3 sets or 3 different reviews would likely be ensuing after that, so you can only do the math after that and how much that developer just saved just in printing costs alone, let alone trying to lug those plans back and forth, or if they sent them in via mail, what the cost for postage would be for that. So those simple costs add up over time, because keep in mind, we have 50-plus applications a year, so you multiply that over time. But to go back to your original question, the developers, they think it's incredible. They think it's a very good thing, saves them time. They're happy to do it. Like I said, I think the biggest thing is that it's kind of culture shock to them, so as they get more acclimated to it, it's only going to get better going forward, so.
And think saving them money is also a benefit for them. We do hear sometimes how they don't like paying our fees or, our permit fees. So this is one way to give them some money back, certainly not as much as the fees, but it is a way to give them some savings. No further questions. I think we should have an audio version of the budget, so people could listen, and they could do whatever they want to and just listen to everybody speak, because like I said, this one was very exciting. The other thing is public art, and Mr. Koszubski and Mrs. Kozlowski weren't here last week, but so Clark got all the, accolades for all of the work that you have put into well over 2 years in coming up with some kind of plan for the murals that will be on the side of some of our businesses. So I thought since you were here, I would just say it again, that I appreciate all the hard work and the patience that the Art Commission has put in for this project, because I think it's really going to make a difference in the way some of our buildings are going to appear. The businesses are really excited about becoming a part of this art project. And lastly, Mr. Beshaw was here, and he nicely showed us those terrible pictures of the road conditions and how they do need to be fixed. And I think it's important to say that without the Safe Streets millage passing this November, so much of what we want to do, we won't be able to do. So that's how important that millage is coming in November. So I think we all have to be on board with making sure that the residents get the information that they need so we can have a successful outcome in November. So nothing further, Mayor Taylor.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Zarko. Anyone else, council, with comments? Mr.
Mayor?
Radke?
I have some well, first I want to say what an excellent presentation. So many initiatives going on that really will save us time, save us money, and really benefit the residents. With that, I have some questions through the chair for Ms. Kozlowski about public art and different things. First, I've got a lot of questions online. What does an average public art mural cost for the city? Like, what is our average cost for a mural that we put up?
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Right now, what we do is we've been talking with the DIA and asking what they average, to commission a mural. So often I'll reach out like I did to the Anton Art Center for muralists when we're looking for a professional muralist. And then we give them the space. We say, materials to be included in the estimate. And at this point, I think our first one was $9,000, and then after that, they were about, give or take, $1,000 from there. Those that over 10, have to come before the city council. But so far, many of them have remained around $9,000.
Wonderful. Also, I guess this is through the chair to Mr. Koszubski. I had a question recently on social media about this that says, we have a 5-year contract for the mural on the wall. What happens if something happens to the building, they want to expand, or they want to basically encroach upon our space?
Sure. So the good news is it's a lease. Excuse me. The 5 years, actually a 10-year, because we have an option for automatic renewal. And we do that because in the length of time that a mural can last, sometimes it can last longer. Sometimes you want the mural to change. So we take that space as best we can, so it ends up being $10 for the
I guess
the
my
10 years.
question is, we want to work with business owners. We don't want to stop someone from expanding their business or changing. We're more than willing to work with business owners for this to be a benefit for all the city. Because they're like,
Right.
the city going to hold us so that we couldn't, say, expand our business with the murals in the way. And
Well, the idea would be to work with businesses, but at the same token, we would want to target businesses with walls that likely wouldn't expand.
you're right. I guess I have a further question for Ms. Kozlowski. I was hoping to see in your presentation, which I didn't see this year, but which is high on my agenda, hopefully a transition to a renewed website and new email addresses. Because as much as I like sterling-heights.net, it really screams 1997 and not 2019. And I think a lot of residents get confused when you try to give them your email address over the phone. You say sterling dash, not underscore, dash. Where are we on that, and is that going to come before us soon?
I am excited to tell you that Steve Dion, our IT director, and myself are currently, and Steve really took the ball with this, have contacted the .gov domain. So we are working on getting sterlingheights.gov to be the city's new web address and email address. We're also trying for shmi.gov because, again, we want to keep it as short as possible so it's very easy. However, we're kind of hitting some walls there because you have to identify yourself as an entity with the government. But, you know, that's going to take some time to transition over, but of course, we'll keep the sterling-heights.net
course.
and, you know, redirect to sterlingheights.gov. I agree with you. When I, you know, started here, that was something I really wanted to change. It's hard when we're talking to residents over the phone and giving them our email addresses. No one knows what a dash is. Is it a slash, a dash, you know, .net again. So we are working on that and appreciate your interest in it.
That's great, and I just want to commend you for all the social media outreach that's been going on. And I guess further, I respect that you want every channel to come online and be fully staffed, but might we get a fire department channel hopefully soon? Because that would be something the residents are asking me for.
I am happy to work with the fire department if they have the audience and the content to support a page. You know, I always want to be thoughtful. If we continue to take away from the city page, we're losing those people. You know, the messaging, we want to hit them like about meetings like tonight, the budget meeting, everybody who spreads out, we're losing them. So, but I know there's huge support for our fire department and awesome men and women who work there. So would be happy to, you know, explore the idea.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Mr. Yanis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to say what a fantastic presentation this was by all the presenters. I have a couple questions, but I do have to make one statement. And I noticed in the presentation for the Dell tablets, which are just awesome, sitting next to the tablet and the monitor was our telephones that were installed in the late 90s. So I think we still have some more. Soon, yeah, soon. I was actually here when they installed those telephones. But I have a couple questions. One for Ms. Varney, and that has to do with our pension liabilities. Can you refresh our memory as to what the levels are from the state, the percentage of
Sure.
investment?
Ms. Varney.
Through the chair.
Yeah, so for the pension, which would be the general employees and the police and fire, the level at which we would have to submit a corrective action plan is 60%. So the police and fire plan is getting a little too close to comfort for that. But like I said in the presentation, we had to drop this year for really a particular reason, that we updated our mortality tables, and it really, I mean, I was surprised at how big of an impact it made on the liability. You know, people, which is a good thing, people are living longer, but it costs, you know, so our liability increased about $14 million just from that one change. The other thing, again, we're continuing to fully fund it, and we hope to possibly this year actually put some extra money in. So we're mindful of that. Obviously, we want it to be fully funded for a lot of reasons, but, you know, some communities, you know, the good thing about our police and fire millage is our police and fire plan is we have a dedicated millage to fund the ARC. So some communities that have had to submit corrective action plans, their corrective action plan is basically, we have a millage. So we have a millage, but obviously we also don't want that millage to keep going up and up and up. So we've done a lot of things in the police and fire plan the past few years that have increased the liability in the short term, but will make it better in the long term. Like I said, we've brought the rate of return down. We've closed the amortization, which is kind of like your mortgage. So up until about 3 years ago, we had what was called a fixed amortization. So it's kind of like if your mortgage, you owe $100,000 and we divide it by 25 years. And then next year you owe, say, $90,000, but we still divide it by 25 years. It's never going to go away. So we close the amortization. So now it goes down every year. So that increased the liability in the short term. So we've done a lot of things the past few years for the good of the plan, but have short-term, kind of a negative impact on the funding level. But I expect that to start changing. Obviously, the market, is always unpredictable, but I don't foresee any big changes like that. And so hopefully we'll start on an upward trajectory.
And then another question through the chair, Mr. Mayor. You'd mentioned the gap for the Headley cap is starting to narrow. Can you give us an idea when we might hit the cap, the timeline, and what are some of the thoughts and strategies when that time comes for future councils and future budgets?
I mean, it's hard to predict. I mean, we've been going down at about 0.1 a mil a year for the past 3 years. So in the short term, all that does is keep you capped at inflation. But to me, what's really scary about it is the permanency of it. So if next, if we go into another downturn, we're still capped at that lower millage rate. So you've lost, that ability to even grow, with inflation. I mean, I think unfortunately it's a legislation issue in the Headley Amendment, and the personal property tax elimination is kind of what caused this. I think it was an unintended cause of it's a complicated formula, which our city assessor could probably explain better than me, but in essence, your new growth is offset by what you lose, and the growth used to be offset by the reduction in personal property, and those two things kind of offset each other. And now that we don't have personal property to offset that new growth is why we're seeing the millage reductions. It's again, right now on the operating side, it's not really affecting us because I don't have to reduce the millage rate because we're below the cap. But, at this rate in a decade, we would, be at the point where our operating millage would have to go down. Right now, it is affecting our Safe Streets millage and our recreating recreation millage, that both are at lower rates than what the voters approved.
And so just follow up on that. How much from the state do we expect to offset the personal property losses? Do we have any expectations? Explain that.
So I have I believe I estimated about $4 million this year in the personal property tax reimbursement. So again, we've been getting fully reimbursed, but the key is we're getting reimbursed at our personal property tax levels as they were in 2013. Yeah. So yes, we're getting the reimbursement, but again, limiting our ability to grow. We've got, huge personal property investments by Chrysler and other, which we're not getting anything on that. So yes, we're getting reimbursed from the state, but it's at, the levels from 5 years ago.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Mayor, I have a couple questions for Mr. Bayshaw. Yes, sir. Thank you. So please help me. You used the term, and I didn't catch it quick enough, definition, some sort of value repair to the roads?
The Pazer rating system, maybe?
Yeah, when you're repairing a road, there's some term that you use, something value.
There's a statewide standardized system called the Pazer rating. It stands for,
No, I understand that, but in repair of a specific road, and I believe it was, I didn't write down which road we were talking
You
about.
want to have Mr. Vanderpool help you out, maybe?
Mr. Vanderpool would be,
Somebody who knows.
Councilman Yen, as you're referring to Mr. Bayshaw's comment to Fox Hill, where he
Yes.
mentioned the term value engineering.
Value engineering,
City
yes.
engineer could
Value
explain that.
okay.
thank you.
Value engineering, what we're trying to do is address the surface condition of that road. Usually when we go in, we try to address all the curbing, so the drainage system works. We address various types of maybe base improvements underneath, catch basin repairs. When we go through and do a road work, usually there's a lot to it, and it gets very expensive. When we're looking at a valued engineer project, we want to address the surface condition, and the main objective of that is just to address the surface condition, meaning the cost to reconstruct the road or do a significant improvement is likely 4 times the cost of what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is just improve the surface condition alone to make a bigger impact on our overall system.
And one last question, again, through the chair. I get asked this all the time, and I wonder it myself, why do our roads seem to deteriorate so quickly? Or do they not, it's just a perception?
That's a complicated question, but yeah, there's a lot to it. Different types of subsoils. We have a lot of clay subsoils in the city. We have a lot of sandy subsoils. A lot of the roads that are built now were built out in the 70s and 80s, 90s. Since that time, when we start building roads, people have installed sprinkler systems. There's more water. The water gets into the clay becomes, kind of punky, and then it leads to more freeze-thaw damage, more movement. So the pavement, there's a little bit different conditions than there were when they were initially built. Also, the age of the road itself, I think the average age of our roads was 42 years. And that's expecting a lot out of your local road system for a road to last that long.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yanas. Anyone else, council?
Mayor,
Mrs. Kosky.
thank you. I am very, very pleased with the progress that we have made with road repair. I hope that our Safe Streets is going to pass so that we can continue on, because I would like to see 90% good roads and maybe 10% fair. In regard to code enforcement and the software change, I'm very impressed with that. That is, my understanding is that's going to link all the city departments together so that you're going to be able to literally talk to each other. I think that is tremendous. The only question I really have is to Bridget Kozlowski, Community Relations. I have been spending a lot of time at the library lately, and I've had, yes, I have.
I like to read.
I like to read, right. I have had a few.
It's been a pleasure, Deanna.
It's been fun.
Yes, thank you very much. I've had a few people question me about the murals and about the art fixtures that we have. Who pays for them? Where does the money come from? Do you get any donations from businesses? Is this all city's money? Who makes the choices? Can you enlighten the residents a little bit as to how your art program works?
Sure. So this public art has been a part of Sterling Heights for decades. As many of you know, way prior to my time, even prior to Steve Guitar, there was Sterlingscapes. So many of the sculptures we have were from the late 80s, early 90s. And many of those sculptures came from donations, or they were community foundation, the Sterling Heights Community Foundation. The Friends of the Sterling Heights Library, I believe, helped purchase the 2 bears, I should say. And then as of late, we revamped the public art program, and now there is a dedicated portion of the city budget every year that is approved by city council that goes to public art. That is put into the community relations budget so that my department helps oversee the program. However, obviously, anything over 10 grand does come before city council for approval. The way that it works in my department is I'm kind of the lead, and Sue G. Lombardo is kind of a lead also, and we work with the Arts Commission to talk about what our goals are for public art and ask them what they're interested in, if they have any ideas. Anybody is welcome to to the Arts Commission meetings. They are the first Tuesday of the month, 6 p.m. here at City Hall, room 202. We have people stop by all the time, bring us ideas, and just like I highlighted in the presentation, that mosaic idea was something that an Arts Commission member brought to the commission to say, I saw this somewhere, I thought it was really cool, is this something we could explore? So that's essentially it. We work with the Arts Commission, they take votes on the pieces of public art. The way that, the first big thing we did when we relaunched the public art program was the seed, which is in the roundabout. We had the Nordine brothers come into the Arts Commission to ask them, I brought them in and said, I think these guys would be great. They could do something really big. They're Sterling Heights natives. They have all this momentum going in Detroit. What do you think? And the Arts Commission took a vote and approved us to work on a project with them. And then, of course, we brought that before City Council for a vote. So we appreciate any input on public art. It is truly a community effort. So anybody who has any ideas can contact the Community Relations Department. We do give preference to Sterling Heights artists, so if there are artists in Sterling Heights that are interested in a possible, commission in the future, reach out. But I hope that, if I need to come to a future city council meeting or host office hours to talk about public art, we're happy to do so.
So if anyone wants any information when the next meeting is, they can call 446-2489.
Correct. And 2470 is directly to Community Relations if you want to skip the menu.
Okay. One thing I do have to say is, I don't like billboards.
As in advertising on them?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially 80-foot-high ones.
I'm not planning to bring any billboards here. I don't think Mr. Vanderpool would let me do that. I think we're looking to advertise on billboards outside of Sterling Heights
Okay.
that already exist.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right,
Through the chair. Mr. Mayor, I
Anything
would like
else?
to request a motion. Do you want me to wait until we're all done?
No, why don't you go ahead now?
No? Okay. I would like to ask the city manager to do a little review and cost out the cost of providing uniforms for the CERT program. Now, that's Citizen Emergency Response Team. They have been working very, very hard, and they are requesting uniforms, some kind of shirt for designation, maybe pants, depending on the cost. I believe that Jeff Garapi, who heads that program, has put together some numbers, and I think he would be more than willing to supply those to administration and maybe look that over and see if we can find a couple dollars in the budget to add that in. So if we could have a motion to that effect, if it's feasible for council to
Do we need a motion, or do we just have them prepare an amendment for
have
the
them
next meeting?
prepare it, and it would be available at the next meeting to review.
All right, any objection? Seeing none, we'll have that motion or amendment prepared for the next budget hearing. Anything else, Mrs. Koski?
That's it.
Okay,
Mayor
Mrs. Schmidt?
Taylor, thank you. Just a couple of things. First, in regards to the retirement funds, I will say that it doesn't look like we're doing such a hot job, but when talking to the folks from the Michigan Treasury Department, when we were at MML, they say to the contrary. They say that Sterling Heights is in so much better shape in their funding of retirement liabilities than the majority of the communities in the state. So, with the downturn, everyone was in a sinking ship, and we have been able to contribute to those funds continually. And I think it's important that our residents understand that we are really doing so much more than the majority of communities in the state. So I commend our, finance department for making sure that we stay on top of that. And I appreciate that. I really don't have any questions, just some comments. First of all, hearing that we're going to put $1 million in the bank at the end of all of this is very exciting to me, because everyone thinks we're wasting a lot of money out there. So we are actually bringing this city into, the current age of computers and technology, and why shouldn't every department's computer system talk to each other? I mean, I think it's long overdue that we have all of those integrated in together. I'm excited to hear about that. The planning department, those computers blow my mind. I sat here, I was saying to Mrs. Sarowski, how amazing is this? I mean, I know we didn't invent it, but boy, to be able to utilize it, you folks in that department have to be just giddy learning all the ins and outs and tricks of this, and the money that we're saving and the time we're saving for our employees as well. I think it's phenomenal. Let's see. As far as, our revenue, let's go back to our revenues. The state still is stiffing us on our statutory revenue sharing, so let's not forget that. That's about, what, 5 million?
About 5 million a year, I'm sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
57 is the cumulative amount as of 2017, $57 million.
$1 million
That we
since
would have had.
2003, right? So $5 million that we're supposed to be getting that we haven't been getting, and we're still able to put money in the bank. So kudos. Let's see. As far as our community relations and the other departments getting out there on social media, I have to say, I think the police department's Facebook page has got to be, they are engaging the residents in such a way that police departments are not seen as fun-loving and, out there in the community. They're seen as, these are the people that are going to catch you doing, 5 over and, and I just, kudos to them especially, because you wouldn't expect them to do what they're doing, and I really enjoy I enjoy all of the pages, but I think it's Officer Suzala that's doing it. He just has a way about it that is very engaging and entertaining. So I appreciate that. And really, all the road repairs, let's continue on. It's, as some of my colleagues have said, Safe Streets is imperative that we get the rest of these roads done. And our neighborhood roads, some of them, we saw the pictures. So we need to continue on and down that path of smoothness, hopefully in the future. So I thank you all for your presentations, and I have nothing further.
Mrs. Sarowski.
Well, we've had a long night, so I don't want to belabor some of the points, but I want to thank all the department heads and all the department workers. Thank you. The presentations were better than usual, and I want to thank you for that. They were very well done. They were very entertaining sometimes, but just a couple of comments. I don't have any questions, but I did want to commend both the planning department. My brother is a civil engineer, and he's so jealous, I can tell you right now, of your programming abilities and ability to change plans and to be in real time with a lot of those things. And that real time that we talk about is also very important with our integration of our systems. As a nurse, you guys know I'm a nurse, you've heard that 1,000 times. But to be able to speak to electronically different hospitals, different home cares, insurance companies, any other department speaking the same language with your same electronic record, that's extremely important, and it's not only time-saving, it decreases risk and liability. So I really, I'm looking forward to seeing how well that will work for us. And then also, I want to commend Mrs. Kozlowski and the Arts Commission and the Community Relations Department, because art has really made a difference. My mother is an artist, taught art in high school. I would have loved to be an artist, but there's no money for my talents in art. And just riding your bike, as I do often, through the park and seeing the underpass especially, that's my stopping point. I take a breath, drink some water, and it's just a beautiful area. It really has spruced up this city in ways that are quite large for something so beautiful and so easy to do. So thank you again. And I honestly just want to ask the residents to please consider and very thoughtfully, hopefully, renew safe streets, because that is what has helped us make our city, our neighborhoods, and our fire and police departments the best that they are. So thank you again.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sarowski. I want to again thank all of the presenters tonight and the directors and the employees and everyone from the administration down who played a part in preparing the presentations tonight. They're very helpful to us, and hopefully they're informative and helpful to the residents out there. For those that are maybe watching at home but not here, there is going to be a second budget hearing 2 weeks from tonight. And just to give just a very brief overview of how the budgeting process works, the nuts and bolts of what happens here, is that all these different departments come to their department heads and they give proposals for the projects that they want to see included in the budget. It's taken then to the finance and budget director. It's cut down, it's reduced. Every project is estimated and it's based on what we think bids would possibly come in for. And it goes through several reviews before it makes its way into the budget document. And then even when it's in the budget document, we have these 2 review hearings where we can adjust up and down and reprioritize where we think we might need to. But then every 2 weeks, we come back for a city council meeting, the first and third Tuesday of the month, and we vote on these projects that are included in the budget. So there's multiple reviews at the department level, multiple reviews at the administration level, and then multiple reviews at the city council level. So everything that eventually gets voted on and spent is something that's been reviewed multiple times by many different departments, including our city council. And it's what we end up with, I think, is the product of some very hard work by some very talented people. And I'm not just talking about the people, my colleagues on this city council. It's the 450 plus city employees who work for the city of Sterling Heights and do this work day in and day out. Just from my perspective, a couple of highlights. I thought the road presentation was really impressive to see the number of roads that have been done, and particularly when you look from 2014 to 2022. And that $400 million number really stands out to me, particularly the local road work. A lot of our major roads, when you're driving 45, 50 miles an hour onto them, it takes your car takes a pounding. And to see that where we were in 2014 to where we will be in 2022, it's going to be nearly every road in Sterling Heights. Every single road will have been repaired in some stretch, and almost every major roadway in Sterling Heights. So it shows we're, despite Lansing not being able to get a realistic and a viable funding plan passed for our roads, we're doing it here in Sterling Heights and we're making it work. Another highlight is the amount of money that we're putting into our facilities. I'm excited to see that the upgrades to City Hall, the upgrades to the DPW, and while it does cost money to do this, we have I think a different philosophy in Sterling Heights, is that some other communities, like one to our north, and I love Rick Stathakis, he's a good friend of mine, but their philosophy is when a building is in need, you wait 15 or 20 years and you save up the cash and then you buy it. And that may be fine, but to us, that when we see a building is in need, we're going to make the repair work and we're going to get it done, because we don't want our customers, the residents who come in and use City Hall, or the employees who need to have a functioning DPW building, we don't want to have to make them wait 15 or 20 years. So I'm glad to see that we're doing that. The improvements that we're making in our innovative technologies, both in our financial software integration and in our digital plan review process, was very impressive, and it goes to show that we're always trying to innovate here in Sterling Heights. And, last but not least, I think the community or the public art program is really something that is making Sterling Heights stand out amongst a bunch of other communities here in Macomb County and Southeast Michigan that I think really need to look at finding ways to stand out to residents and being attractive to newer generations of residents coming in, not just newer generations, but the people who've lived here for 30, 40, 50 years. They deserve to have a vibrant, thriving community that's distinctive and unique and provides people with a better sense of community and a great sense of happiness. I think that's what public art does. It just kind of breaks up your day when you see it. It's enjoyable. It's fun, and I'm proud to be a part of it. So thank you again to everyone. And with that, I will say we do need to vote on this item. So without any further discussion, all those in favor of the item on the floor, which is to introduce the fiscal year 2019-2020 appropriations ordinance, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda tonight is communications from citizens. Anyone who'd like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? Mr. Jefferson?
Charles Jefferson, Sterling Heights. First of all, Rob and Dan, whichever one of you down there, just pan to the crowd behind me.
Charles, you're not directing our city employees to do anything,
Jesus
so just
Christ.
keep going. Go ahead. This is your time to speak, Charles.
Okay, then, don't interrupt. Ms. Koski, I have a question to ask you, and I want to ask you point blank range. Why haven't you decided to remove Jeff Garapi as from the city CERT team? Because he does want people hog-tied, lynched, and killed under the ISIS flag. So I'm asking you, why haven't you decided to remove him yet? Another question I have to ask Mr. Fayshaw here. What's the difference between the east side of Sterling Heights off of 19 Mile Road and the west side of 19 Mile Road beyond Mound? Because over where we live, we've been living there since the early 70s, and we've never had any problem in our subdivision with the roads like they have on the west side of 19 Mile Road. I don't understand that. What happened there? And if you could please explain that. Bridget Kozlowski, is there any plans to get SHTV sports timeout back into the community? Because that was a very important program to Sterling Heights residents, especially the younger ones. I know it's been brought up that you wanted high school students to do it, but nobody wants to be interviewed by some dude in a math class. When Anthony came up here and did it, it was big time, and that reached out, that had a ripple effect throughout the community. We ain't getting Anthony back, that's for sure, but we need to do something to get that back, because young ladies, young men, that was the key to being big time, even if they didn't go big time. You get an interview from Anthony after the game, you thought you were the man. You get on the monthly review that he had, the highlight packages that they would put together, you would be excited. Before Anthony, there was a guy named Phil. That's when I first got introduced to it. And we played Stevenson on a Friday night. We beat Stevenson. On Sundays, we always reviewed the game footage from Friday night at our high school. But the week that we was on TV, we reviewed that at that place. But then we went to somebody's house on Monday. All the linemen got together, all the running backs got together someplace, all the wide receivers, the quarterbacks, all of us was someplace. And the parents and whatnot would go to the grocery store, buy groceries, get us to a party type state. It was different, and we watched it all week long. It wasn't just like once in a while. I mean, it was a serious thing. Like I said, we need to get that thing back. And it reached out. We went, when we was on the basketball team, we got new shoes, new socks, got our uniform pressed, haircuts, the whole nine. So I was just wondering, when are we gonna get sports time out back like it was in this here community? Thank you.
Anyone else under communications? If not, close that portion, go on to reports. Do we have reports on the agenda tonight like normal? Reports from city administration, anything tonight, Mr. Vanderpool?
Nothing further, Mayor.
Mr. Koszybski, anything tonight?
Nothing, sir.
Reports from city council, anything? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported. No discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.